Hello, and welcome to episode 83 of Radio Gorepress. I'm Sarah. Joining me as ever is my lovely co-host Rosie. How you doing, Rosie?
Hi. I am all right. Yeah, I'm still shut into my house. I don't know. Like, I don't know how I feel about the concept of a lockdown being lifted.
I'm not happy with it currently. I think it's
I think
premature.
it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I think they're shooting their load too early.
Mm-hmm.
But
And having been out to work today and seen that the roads are back to normal, I think people have got wind of the fact that it's probably going to be relaxed on Monday and are just preempting that.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's just given all of their fucks away over the past 6 weeks, and now they have no more fucks left to give.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm feeling slightly anxious about that.
Understandably, I think kind of like I don't understand who these people are that are thriving in this situation. I think surviving is the best that most of us can hope for. We're still alive. We're doing okay.
I haven't eaten myself to death yet. Or drunk myself to death, and both of those I'm chalking that up to a win.
Yeah, I would.
Pretty much. But yeah. Apart from that, I'm doing good. Doing lots of artwork, getting myself packed for moving.
Yeah. What a weird year.
Somebody, naming no names, Philip.
It's all right. He's not here this week. You can drop him in the shit all you want.
Phil, where are you? Where is he? Yeah, I don't know. Had a baby. Something baby. Something doesn't want to share a house with me anymore. Something. Very inconsiderate, if you ask me.
It's terribly selfish of him.
How are you doing, Sarah?
I'm okay. My day-to-day hasn't changed significantly because I'm still able to work. So just powering through at the minute, trying to keep some semblance of routine so I don't go completely insane.
Just the low level of anxiety.
Yeah, I'm propelled by that currently.
It fuels me.
Powered by that and caffeine, mostly.
Yes. Add cigarettes into the mix and that's me. Yeah.
It's almost as if the caffeine and the anxiety might not be a great idea in tandem, but it's working.
You shut your whole mouth.
I'm not going to question it too much. It's working for me so far.
I don't want to consider the alternative.
No.
Can you imagine me without caffeine or without sugar?
I would not want to imagine that. That's not a world I want to live in.
I'd be a horrible, shitty person.
Without coffee, I'd be very aggressive.
You're quite aggressive anyway.
How dare you? Am I quite aggressive?
You just said how dare you for commenting on a potentially...
Saying how dare
questionable facet of your personality.
Saying how dare you is
like I'll fucking do you.
That's a very British way of being aggressive. How very dare you.
You said, how dare you, I'll come over there and punch you right in the face.
I'll do your fucking knees. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. That sounds like me.
And that's why you're allowed coffee.
Okay. I don't make these rules up. I'm just happy that I'm allowed coffee.
Yep, go for it. You can have whatever you want. All rules are out the window.
Thank you. I would like coffee. That is what I want.
Should we pause this?
Just go and get coffee.
Yeah.
Just turn this into some sort of caffeine cast. So this is episode 83, and 82 was a much longer show than we anticipated, but it was a really fun one. So we thought we would suck the fun out of the room entirely this week.
I thought you were going to say, so we thought we'd carry on and have a look at the joyful romp that is
Midsommar.
Ari. Fucking
Who hurt you, Ari?
hell.
So we had, I'm not going to call it a fun time, we had a time when we discussed Hereditary.
A time was had.
A time was had. And I have been really keen to hear your thoughts on this film for a long time, because I saw it at the cinema last year.
And you know that I've desperately wanted to watch it
Yes.
for ages.
So this is, I have no idea how you feel about this film. We did not watch it together, obviously, because we are recording remotely. So I'm kind of stoked, kind of worried. I feel like you might hate me for making you watch a 2.5 hour fucking bleak as fuck. Well, we'll get to that.
Shit's gonna get interesting, put it that way.
Yes.
I do hate you for making me watch a 2.5 hour film.
Okay.
But I don't hate you for making me watch this 2.5 hour film.
Which 2.5 hour film do you hate me for then? Well, I think it's probably a safe bet that everybody listening will have either seen Midsommar or be very aware of Midsommar. But if there is any uninitiated amongst us, do you want to give us a quick synopsis?
I will do, and then we can get into the festivities.
Ugh, get stuck in.
See what I did there? Fucking hell. I haven't spoken to anyone all day. I'm so sorry. Danny and Christian are a young American couple with a relationship on the brink of falling apart. But after a family tragedy keeps them together, a grieving Danny invites herself to join Christian and his friends on a trip to a once-in-a-lifetime midsummer festival in a remote Swedish village. What begins as a carefree summer holiday in a land of eternal sunlight takes a sinister turn when the insular villagers invite their guests to partake in festivities that render the pastoral paradise increasingly unnerving and viscerally disturbing. From the visionary mind of Ari Aster comes a dread-soaked, cinematic fairy tale where a world of darkness unfolds in broad daylight.
I think that's a pretty well-written synopsis, actually.
You say that, but she doesn't invite herself.
Does she not?
No, Christian invites her and she agrees to come.
After a bit of wheedling.
Literally, he turns up. Right, we'll go forward then we'll go back. He says to his mates, he goes to his mate's house and he goes, oh, by the way, Danny's coming. And they're all like, the fuck guy? And he's like, well, I asked her, but she's not coming. And they were like, oh, she said no. And he was like, no, I asked her and she said yes, but she's not coming. And then she turns up and they're like, oh, are you coming? And she's like, yeah, why not? Like, at no point does she invite herself.
Oh, okay, that might be phrased weirdly. I just mean like when they're at the party and it's first mentioned and she's like, oh, you didn't tell me you were going away in like a fortnight and that you've bought the tickets. When were you going to drop this on me? And then I think somewhere meeting in the middle of the two things that we said.
Yeah, I agree with you. Eternal sunlight? It's not eternal sunlight. There are 2 hours of nighttime.
There are 2 hours of nighttime. Can you imagine?
No.
It's like,
no, I can't.
This is the inverse 30 Days of Night.
It sounds like I would need to invest in some very good blackout blinds.
Yeah. Or at the very least, one of those eye masks that people wear on planes.
That have like sleeping eyes on the front of them.
Yeah. Or winky eyes or something cheesy.
Nice. Or just like princess. It's pink quilted velour.
I have one and it says back off.
Is that for like people who break into your house and look over you whilst you're sleeping?
Yeah.
Like, back off, and they're like, oh, well, if the eye mask says it, I'd better go.
We don't want to fuck with this one. She's a live wire. Fucking wild
She's a
card.
badass. I'd be utterly terrified. I'm sorry, my chair's squeaking. Yeah.
So throwing it right back to the beginning then.
Yes.
What an opening. Can we talk about how the literally the darkest portion of the film, like visually and probably thematically, is sort of in the first 10 minutes and it doesn't let up from there?
Yes, I agree with you to a point. I'm not entirely sure it's the darkest point thematically throughout the film, but I will get onto
Okay.
that. But in on the face of it, yes, it's a really traumatic and awful thing to witness
Mm-hmm.
and thing to appreciate Danny going through. And actually, Florence Pugh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, she does like such an excellent job of being so gutturally devastated
Oh, it's
and
primal.
yeah, like completely. Um, and the anxiety that comes from it and the anxiety that she kind of portrays
Mm-hmm.
throughout the film is really accessible. It's really relatable. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you get it. Yeah, definitely. That's what it's like.
Mm-hmm. She,
Like trying to breathe and
yeah, I'm going to touch on this probably at several points throughout the show, but
mm.
she is just phenomenal, pitch
Oh
perfect.
yeah.
And like even the tiny kind of micro expressions, like just everything, she's just
Like
nailed
little
it.
sideways glances
Yeah,
and
the
yeah.
absolute subtleties that speak volumes.
There was nothing about the way that she held her character that wasn't completely believable.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I really think she nailed it. I think she was a sort of glowing point in terms of acting throughout this film.
Mm-hmm.
I think the acting across the board was pretty damn good,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
There was nobody that I felt was acting. There was no like hamming it up
Yeah.
that I could tell of, apart from the obvious theatrical moments like within the ceremonies.
Yeah, of course.
But there were definitely characters that I hated.
Well, let's touch on that then. I feel like our introduction to Danny is quite a sympathetic one. Obviously, you're thrown straight into it. This unthinkable tragedy happens, and you're kind of experiencing that grief, that bereavement, that trauma firsthand
Yeah.
with her. And then
grief is the word, definitely.
yeah, and then immediately prior to that, you're kind of introduced to the male protagonists, Christian and his friends. And
Christian, Josh, and Mark.
I don't know. Like, it occurred to me while I was watching. I don't know whether male and female audiences viewed this differently because this is going to sound really narrow-minded and I don't mean it to. I think women are kind of primed to align themselves with the female character. That's just kind of innate, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, it's more inherently relatable.
So do you think male audiences would find the male characters as immediately detestable as we would? Or do you think they'd be skewed to be a bit more sympathetic towards them?
I think that they would not necessarily intentionally side with the men more, but I think possibly they would, and that would be down to systemic misogyny.
Yeah. Oh God.
Those guys are fucking awful.
Let's not get too far into the toxic masculinity aspects just yet. But sweet Jesus.
But that conversation where they're talking about
oh, she needs a therapist.
Just dumping her and talking like her calling twice in an evening makes her
unreasonable,
an emotional and irrational girl.
Yeah.
And they're I can't remember if it's that discussion or a conversation later on where Pele says, think of all the Swedish girls you'll be getting pregnant in June. which is an interesting bit of foreshadowing.
Everything. Right. Obviously, we will touch on this throughout the show. Oh, you have many, many notes, I see.
I have notes.
Literally.
There's a lot to unpack.
Literally, there is not one thing, not one little thing in this movie that is not foreshadowed.
Yeah.
And I think whether you appreciate this film or not, you have to kind of give props to that level of just the eye for detail, the care with which it was constructed. Like, nothing
Absolutely.
was accidental.
The artwork in Danny's flat.
Oh, the girl and the bear.
The girl and the bear, which is called The Poor Bear.
Yeah.
That piece of art is called The Poor Bear.
Mm-hmm.
In the living room, there are naked women clutching their children to their breasts and like walking against the wind.
Mm-hmm.
And
even like one of the first shots is just that mural.
It's basically telling the story.
Yeah, everything's kind of laid out in terms of the seasons, which again we'll get to when they talk about the stages of your life mirroring the seasons. But I love
it's
that.
all looked over by the sun.
Yes.
Which is something else I'll get onto. But seriously, there is so much to unpack here, and I genuinely don't think we've got time.
Probably not.
Can I just say, I knew that, what's his name? Poulton, the guy who plays Mark.
Oh, yeah.
I knew he was in it. I knew that I hated his face.
Oh, why do you hate his face?
Oh, it's just so punchable.
I think maybe I'm a little bit... Right, okay. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty here. But because he's kind of like a weird-looking dude, when... Shit, was it Bandersnatch? Black Mirror Bandersnatch? He was in that, the interactive Black Mirror episode. After that aired, he was subjected to so much bullying on Twitter because of the way he looks that he was driven off it, and now he kind of advocates for anti-bullying charities.
Like, I think that's great, but I still want to punch him in the face. I don't think he was ugly. I think his face is annoying.
He was... I don't know if I'd say his face is annoying, but everything about him in this film was annoying. Like, I think he was intended to be very punchable.
So allow me to have a bit of backstory for this. I first saw... Is it Mark Poulter? Is his name actually Mark?
Will Poulter.
Will Poulter,
yeah.
That's it. I first saw him when he was a teenager and he was doing like kids comedy for Channel 4.
Oh, right.
And it was cringy as fuck, and it was he was typecast as the annoying bratty kid.
Right. Okay.
And he did it so well that I cannot get that out of my head now. So to me, Will Poulter is this annoying bratty kid that I just want to slap the smile off his face. It's not because I think that his facial features like demand beating. Like his entire personality that he carved out for himself when he was a child makes me want to punch him.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I can't get it out of my head. So
I think if anything, he sort of grew into his face a little bit as an adult.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely think that he did.
Interestingly, he was... oh, crap. Was it Kerry Fukunaga who was supposed to do it originally before Andy Muschietti? Will Poulter was originally cast as Pennywise before Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I'm not necessarily sure he would have done as good a job, but...
No, agreed. I think he'd have done a good job, but I can't imagine anybody else in the role now.
You see, the problem is, if he'd played Pennywise, I just would have seen Pennywise as being an annoying arsehole.
Pennywise kind of is an annoying arsehole, though.
He's a bit more murdery.
Well, yeah, the two are not mutually exclusive. I'm sure a lot of serial killers were also annoying arseholes.
But yeah, Mark, I don't quite know which of the men I hate the most in this film, but I think it might be Mark.
Oh, Christian takes the cake for me. What a dick.
they're all awful people.
Mm-hmm. I think
I really loved the kind of overall take home message of fuck the fuck boys.
yeah.
Like, I was all about that. And actually, I got a message from a friend who knew I was watching this and said, "Oh, what did you think of it?" And I was like, "This is a weirdly feel-good film."
Mm-hmm. If you're a woman. Like,
I felt kind of like vindicated by the end of this.
well, weirdly, the first time I watched it, I was in a relationship. The second time I watched it, I had just quit Tinder. I just rage quit online dating. So I got more out of it this time. This was a far more satisfying watch.
I understand that this is skipping right to the end, but right at the end, her facial expression, I found myself matching it.
Yeah. Like the first time she really truly smiles in the whole film.
Like, and she's found her people, and like her grief is kind of coming to a close. And yeah, fuck yeah. Burn the bear.
Oh my god, that's definitely going to be a new saying now. You burn that bear.
It's just like, I mean, that it's basically a massive fuck you to sort of westernized male culture, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
We're going to use you for your babies, dress you up as a bear, and then set fire to you. Get fucked.
Burn that.
Oh, I love it.
Burn that bear is the new dump him.
Burn that bear.
I just want to quickly take it back to the beginning, like, and Florence Pugh.
Oh no, we should absolutely take it back to the beginning.
But Florence Pugh specifically, like, I cannot say enough positive things about her performance in this, and that the way she sort of portrays that, like, the first kind of phone call before Danny and Christian are even shown together, that first phone call where she's panicking about her sister and what might be happening, that feeling of like trying desperately to hold it together.
And him being so dismissive.
Yeah. And you don't want people to think you're overreacting or being paranoid or histrionic. I hate that word.
Because at that point, she probably knows that he's being... Because she calls up her friend and says, like, I can tell by the tone of his voice.
Yeah.
That he like thinks I'm being histrionic and ridiculous and emotional.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. That thing of like, gotta play cool. I need to not be seen to be mental, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, of course.
Like, if you feel mental, you be fucking mental.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, that's kind of the direction it heads in. She's allowed to feel her feelings, and not only that, but she finds people to empathize and who mirror her
encourage
emotions.
Yeah, literally mirror her emotions as well. Yeah. One thing I want to know is that Ari Aster has this really incredible command of color palettes.
Yeah.
Like, always, like, Hereditary did the same as well, but like, all of this film is so washed out in yellow and blue and so like quintessentially Scandinavian.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's like that whole orange teal colorway, but it's just completely washed out, and everything's very white.
Yeah.
Including all the people.
Well, all the Scandinavians.
Yeah. So, how much do you know about the Nazis' misuse of runes during the Second World War?
Not a great deal. I have a very tertiary understanding of what happened there.
So basically, the Nazis looked into magic and runic magic and stuff like that as a way to kind of harness power. Hitler was like really interested in that kind of thing. So They used a lot into it. They usurped a lot of runes. They used the Odin stave an awful lot. The swastika is actually a sign of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the rune of the black sun. There are so many references to white supremacy, the alt-right, and like underground Nazism within this film.
Oh,
It is
they're
mind
really?
blowing. It is mind blowing. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so many.
Oh, God, you're going to have to run me through some of that then. This is new to me.
Well, this is why I've made so many notes.
I mean,
so, like,
obviously, aside from the obvious, like, they all look very Aryan.
well, yeah, yeah, basically. They want to keep pure bloodlines, so they decide who is mating with who. Everybody who does end up mating with them has blue eyes and light hair. Swedish culture at the moment has a lot of ingrained white supremacy and a lot of ingrained racism, especially in like the metal scene, like the black metal scene, for example. You'll find like Odin staves and stuff all over. That is something which is, it's like, it's runic, but it's inherently Nazi as well.
Yeah.
The like, not dorm room, like the sitting room where all the boys are sitting doing their research, there is a book on the table called The Secret Nazi Language of the Uthark.
Oh.
So the, like, I really picked up on this.
Is that how that word's pronounced? Is
Uthark.
Is that what I'm thinking of? Like the runes?
So the runes are Futhark.
Futhark, yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
the runes
right.
are Futhark.
Different word.
Uthark, it's similar. Uthark is like the polar opposite of it.
Okay.
It's like the underworld to it. It's like for every good there's an evil.
As above, so below.
So, yeah, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's basically the secret Nazi language of like evil runic magic.
Oh wow.
What else am I
one thing I did think was quite interesting, kind of harking back to the whole everything being foreshadowed. I think if you've got any, even just like a peripheral knowledge of like Futhark runes, a lot of what happens is kind of spoiled by the runes, by the symbology.
It absolutely is. Like the rune for grief, which is pointed out in scripture, that's on Danny's dress.
Yeah, and like the death rune is on something that Christian's wearing.
Yeah, so it's, all very pointy, like pointing out. I'm pretty sure, I'm absolutely positive, in fact, that the runes on the stones that the elders drag their hands down stand for something very specific, but that I would need to do a bit further research and look up in order to do that.
Can we jump to that very quickly? Obviously, so they go to Sweden, they arrive and kind of have that introductory, I don't even know what to call it. All I know is that Ari Aster has definitely done drugs in his lifetime.
Yeah. Oh, I felt so sorry for anyone who's got trypophobia.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah.
Because that shot, seriously, if you haven't seen this film and you have trypophobia,
maybe
just
steer clear.
Cut out that scene.
Yeah.
Because there are grass blades growing out of her hand. And that was more squirmy to me than some of the other stuff that comes up.
Yeah. I think it's really funny, actually, because this film is very low on gore. It's very low on what people traditionally associate with a lot of horror films. But it doesn't mean it's any less squicky. There's a lot in it that I think would kind of creep you out or gross you out, and it's not what you would ordinarily expect from a horror film.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, so they go on a mushroom trip, I guess. And Danny feels like everyone's laughing at her.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a really specific point to that. This is the thing, because I picked up on so many things throughout the film. I am assuming that meaning has to be attributed to everything that happens.
I know exactly what you mean. It confuses me sometimes with a film like this, where it seems like everything is intentional, nothing is accidental. It's very easy to try and find meaning in the minutiae.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably worth remembering that sometimes filmmakers just do things for the shits of it.
And sometimes they put in red herrings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's...
No, I absolutely get it.
I think it's great when there's a film where, like this, where there is so much meaning that it creates so much conversation. It makes you try and dig for things that maybe aren't even there. I think that's kind of cool in a way.
Well, absolutely. Like,
just leaves you scratching your head for ages.
Going back quickly to the whole like Nazi symbolism, after they've had their mushroom trip, like they go for a walk through the forest, through all of those yellow flowers, and again, like yellow, the color of the sun and new life, and like a lot of this is revolving around new beginnings and new life, and like the ending of the old kind of thing. And again, like that, it has so much to unpack within it. But they walk through big wooden doorway that's sun, basically.
Yeah.
But it is also incredibly reminiscent of the rune of the Black Sun.
Oh, really?
Which is Nazi symbolism.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
And a lot of... There's a painting on this ceiling of the pyramid vault where the bear ends up.
Yeah.
Which has like allusions to Nazism as well, and I can't remember what the rune's called, but yeah, it's like there's so much within it, and like yeah, the pure bloodlines, the approving of mating, the deliberate eugenics.
Yeah. Oh, Christ.
And birthing of disabled children as oracles.
Yeah, God.
I think a large part of this film was alluding to the rising kind of issues with the alt-right and with white supremacy within Scandinavia, but Sweden especially. And actually, having read into that a little bit more afterwards, because of picking all of this up, Ari Aster got quite a lot of flack about it.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, because people were... white supremacists, funnily enough, were saying, oh, maybe next time you can make a film about the horrific things that the Jews have done, and alluding to the fact that what Ari was portraying was worse than what Hitler did to the Jews.
What the fuck? So, but to be honest, I think if I'd pissed off white supremacists, I would chalk that up to a win. So,
oh god, absolutely, fucking yeah, totally.
As if they're salty about that. Come on, guys.
Well, they've always got to be salty about something, haven't they?
Oh,
but it's very, very interesting how many little points were brought up about it. Also, the what the words I'm trying to get out. So I've just got so much to say about this film. The link. I wanted to ask what you thought about the link between Midsommar and Hereditary as films.
What do you mean? What do you mean by link?
The two are linked intrinsically.
Right.
And
I mean, they share a lot of the same themes.
They share a lot of the same things. Visually, they're linked very much by like naked witches, for example, or like rubbing their bits around things, and like the use of fire as a cleansing tool, and the oracle having learning difficulties.
Yeah. I hadn't actually thought about that one, but yeah.
But Midsommar was written before Hereditary.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I knew he'd written it in the wake of a breakup.
Yeah, it was written before Hereditary. Paimon from Hereditary is from the same occult genesis as the Midsommar cult.
Oh, wow.
Paimon is like a patriarchal god.
Yeah.
So Hereditary was very patriarchal. Midsommar is intrinsically matriarchal.
Yes.
It deals with new life and birth and empowering women, and so it's like a really interesting set of films that kind of like link together, but not necessarily in ways you'd think. They kind of click together.
Interesting that they both have female protagonists, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But still part of this like similar universe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No,
and actually, I would say that. No, I don't mean this in a bad way at all. I don't think it is a bad way. Toni Collette, she has quite masculine features. I don't think she looks particularly like girly feminine. Do you know what I mean? Like she's got
she's very
strong
striking.
jaw and yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm not saying like, oh, she looks like a man, but
no, of
like
course
she's
not.
got like a strong jaw and she's got like square shoulders and like she's very strong, and that is predominantly associated with being a man kind of thing. So yeah, I just thought that was really interesting that he's done the patriarchy and now he's done the matriarchy, and like what's he gonna do
genuinely
next?
I think he is the filmmaker whose work I am most excited to see at this point in time.
There's
like
so much in it.
But I think he's so even though you've just detailed all the ways in which Midsommar and Hereditary are so similar and share a lot of the same themes and the same tropes, like I still would credit him as being one of the most unpredictable filmmakers.
They are wildly different films.
Yeah, hugely. Yeah. And like I cannot begin to try and predict where the fuck he's going to go next. And I think that's so exciting.
Absolutely. I mean, even in terms of like Hereditary's basically set in, for the most part, inside buildings, inside small rooms, inside a house, and like Midsommar is
out in the open for the most part.
Yeah. Like, and even the rooms that they're in tend to be
quite spacious.
Enormous.
Yeah, like really high ceilings.
Not a lot in them. Not a lot in them at all.
Yeah.
I found it really interesting that basically the entire film is painted either on the room where all the children sleep.
Yeah.
Or in Sib's house. Almost like it's all like black and white tarot decks almost.
Yeah, the obviously towards the end you've got Christian sitting on the chair staring at the bear on fire.
yeah. Very, interesting.
Yeah.
Again,
in some of the more obvious foreshadowing.
There's one picture which is just, you know, two guys with their dicks out next to a fire. Like, brilliant. The other... No, we'll go back to that.
No, carry on, I'm intrigued.
I was just going to say some more, like, and here's why it's about racism stuff.
Okay, no, I'm interested.
When it's really on the nose, but when they are doing the dance till you drop, the like May Queen dance, this Aryan ruddy like childbearing woman talks about the black one and how the black one forced them into a frenzy, so they danced until they died, kind of thing, and she's casting out by dancing they're like casting out the black one, which was really on the nose. Also the painting of the insemination, I'm going to call it.
I think that's a nice way of phrasing it. Yeah.
of the event has
otherwise known as the most awkward I have felt in a cinema in quite some time.
Oh goodness. It was when the old lady grabbed his butt.
Yeah.
It was
okay up until that. Like, it was awkward up until that point, and then it was just like, oh no. No.
Like, imagine trying to get down with someone and then right next to your ear you just hear, oh. No! I am repressed and awkward enough at the best of times without somebody singing an aria whilst I'm trying to have sex.
Nothing in this film would have got me going, to be honest. to be quite frank.
There's people going, oh, do you want to have sex? I'll put some pubes in your dinner.
One of the things, going back to it not being the obvious things that kind of gross you out in this movie, one of the things that I was talking about with my housemate earlier that grossed us both out to the nth degree was just when they're all sat having dinner and his drink is just a little bit different colour to everybody else's.
And you know why that
and it's just like, oh no.
Yeah, know why that is.
And it's never addressed. Like, it's bloody obvious. Excuse my phrasing.
When they pan round, him and Danny having an argument, the drink's in the central point of the shot all the way around. So it's like, it's made really fucking obvious that, like, that is different. Look at the different thing. One of these things is not like the others.
But I mean, I think what I'm trying to say is, like, it should be, if it's that obvious to us, why is it not that obvious to them? They can see what we can see, surely.
Why are they looking at 30 glasses of lemonade and going, oh, maybe I've got tango?
But I think it kind of calls into question maybe how willfully blind they are to certain things, or how much of the occult is perhaps being utilised.
Like, he'd already had a love rune put under his bed by that point.
Yeah, like how much of what they are seeing and experiencing is being manipulated.
No, absolutely. And
I still have a lot of questions about this.
Everybody knows what's going on apart from them.
Yeah.
Everybody is playing up to this farcical storyline. And even the woman who puts down his pie with the leaf underneath it, so it's easily identifiable as his, gives him this, like, knowing smirk as she leaves.
Yeah.
Like, she knows that pie's got pubes in it. She knows. She's well aware that is the pube pie.
I might never be
I want to know if
again.
he carried on eating it.
Oh, God.
I want to know if he carried on eating. Because otherwise, what was he going to have for lunch?
That's an important question.
Doesn't he also say, like, oh, I think I ate one of her pubic hairs? when he's talking to Sibs in her house, and she's like, oh, yes, you're an astrological match with Maya. Are you going to get in there? And he's like, oh, yeah, I think I ate one of her pubes. Like, what?
I love that there are
and she's
so
like,
many.
Yeah, probably.
I love that there are so many what the fuck moments in this film, but that's the one you've really, like, honed in on. That one crossed a line.
I couldn't get over it. This is a woman that you are, like, visibly terrified by. You're sitting in her house. She looks very formal and proper. And she says, I would like to extend to you a formal invitation to Maya's pants party. And he says, yeah, I've already had a taste of that bush. And she's like, yeah, sounds about right. Not phased at all. Like, yeah, sounds about right.
I mean, probably not the first time it's happened, right? Oh, wait, did this? I mean, they described this as a once in a lifetime thing. Did they say it happens once every 90 years? Did I hear that right?
Yes, okay. It's 90 years.
So literally once in a lifetime.
Which means that yeah, there's no way that you could experience it twice being in that cult
because you tap
you
out
only live
at
to 72. They use the really interesting line, "This is my fire, higher than none, hotter than none."
Yeah.
Which is very much like, this is me, this is as far as I go.
I've peaked.
I'm not going to burn any longer or brighter than this. So that's it.
I don't know how I feel about this, primarily because I'm not happy about the fact that I would already be in the autumn of my life.
My parents would be dead.
My parents would be dead. It's horrifying.
They'd be like years gone.
Yeah.
They would have yeeted themselves off a cliff ages ago.
Can we talk about that quickly?
We can, although I genuinely think that, for me, was the most upsetting scene of the whole film.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people feel that way.
Shocked me the most.
Yeah.
That was the one that weirded me out and shocked me the most, yeah.
But did you get the impression that it was coming? That
Yeah, absolutely. Like, because
I mean,
I didn't know what an attestaper. I can't pronounce
that's a real thing. I didn't know what it
was. Yeah,
like that. They didn't invent that for the film.
No. It's like a ritual sacrifice, I think. But he just says like, "Oh, it's an attestaper," and Josh, who's an anthropologist, obviously goes, "Oh shit, cool."
Because they're all vile people.
Yeah, they're all terrible.
So you say that you felt that was the most shocking moment.
The most shocking moment, I can pinpoint it, is the exact moment where the old woman's face meets that rock.
Yeah. I was not expecting
that moment
to see,
and her head flies back. Yeah, that was it. Ari Aster's got a real thing about fucking up people's faces.
Yeah, it sure does. I didn't expect it to be quite that gnarly.
Yeah,
because the rest of the film is not gratuitous in that way. Like, and I think that,
and actually, it's really clean.
Yeah.
And demure.
Apart from the pubes, obviously, but I think it makes that scene, so it highlights it as being like extra gnarly in comparison.
Yeah, absolutely, completely. But and where the guy throws himself off the cliff and he lands on his legs, I'm like, he's not dead. I know he's not dead. I absolutely know he's not dead. And surprise, surprise, he ain't dead.
Yeah.
It just, I think maybe because of having parents who were so close to that age, and maybe because of the kinds of intrusive thoughts I have about, like, my parents dying, for example. It's always something like, I don't know if it's that, like, the older they get, the more I think about their mortality or stuff like that, but
I think that's totally normal.
Yeah, but these, like, intrusive thoughts about, like, weird and wonderful ways in which they might meet their untimely demise, it hit really hard.
So did that mallet.
Oi, lads. And the point where the woman's head hits the rock, her head flies backwards, and you just get a quick shot round to Danny's face, and the world, like, falls out of line with the rest of her.
Yeah.
Like, this is weird parallax effect. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what that level of shock is like. And it's like shells gone off.
Yeah. I think they did a really good job at kind of evoking how she was feeling at at every point, whether that was visually or just through the phenomenal levels of acting. Like, they just did it.
Yeah.
You knew what she was feeling at every point and how intensely she was feeling it, and they did such a good job of
no, absolutely. And I think part of that's excellent direction, and part of that is excellent acting. Like, the two things worked in tandem so well, and The direction, again, between the like visuals of everything being so calm and beautiful and like demure and serene,
Mm-hmm.
to what is really brilliantly done, but like really graphic
Mm-hmm.
trauma.
Yeah.
Um, and like the nightmare that she has, or the premonition, when she takes a sleeping tablet, is the only time where it's nighttime in Sweden at all.
Oh, is that when she steps out of the room and sees the car driving away, and then the
She
exhaust
sees
kind
the
of?
car driving away,
Mm.
and then loads of black smoke comes pouring out of
Mm-hmm.
her. Um, which again I think is a bit of an allegory, but
Almost certainly.
um, yeah, I think there's a lot of about something grief being released, and
Mm.
the one time she's finally able to sleep, and like it's processing of, and obviously when we're processing weird shit, we dream weird shit.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, um,
I think
and
it's kind of funny to me that a lot of the negative reviews for this film came about from people who obviously see horror in quite a narrow box.
oh, it needs to be scary, it needs to be bloody, it needs to have tits in it.
Yeah. Oh, it had tits.
Yeah. Oh, the tits it had.
Let's not forget that. But I think a lot of people forget that horror films are still, it's still an art form. They're still films. It doesn't have to be throwaway. Like, yeah, it might not be a fun time to watch a 2.5 hour meditation on grief and PTSD and depression.
No,
But,
absolutely.
I think the film is a slog. But I think, like most things that are hard to get through, it's worth it.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn from it. Cinema is, in its very nature, a commentary on human condition.
Yeah, it's supposed to hold a mirror up.
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't matter what genre it is, but to some extent, it is meant to be a social commentary.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at stuff like Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, it was a great zombie movie, but it was also a comment on consumerism and, you know.
Absolutely. And then the remake of Dawn of the Dead, where they had like those dialectic images with mass prayers and mass religion, like organized religion. Like, absolutely, completely agree. It is really silly to think that horror can only be horrible in one way.
Yeah, absolutely. And another criticism that I've seen leveled at the film is that some of the humor felt really misplaced, because there are some moments of very dark comedy, and obviously,
like the butt grabbing.
Yeah, and like everything that comes out of Mark's mouth, it doesn't
fucking Mark.
But it doesn't sit well with everything else. But I think that sort of just adds to the overall level of unease. I mean, there's a...
It's more like nervous laughter.
I was just about to say, there's a reason people laugh at funerals. Like, we have in us this innate awkwardness when we're maybe experiencing more than one emotion, or our emotions are a bit confusing and we don't know quite how to process things and how to react in that moment. And we've talked previously about how horror films and comedy are intrinsically the same. They share a lot of the same kind of beats and setups and stuff. So I think that kind of just added to the overall kind of feel of the movie.
I think also in the same way that, like, if you are a perfume maker, for example, you might use ambergris, which actually smells like fucking ass, but it's an ingredient which enhances all the other lovely smells of the perfume. People, if they do it right, use comedy in a horror film to make the horrific elements more horrific.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the brevity of the comedy enforces and enhances the trauma of the rest of the film.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But also, I think,
and like you said, it creates awkwardness
Mhm.
and it creates nervousness. And this film is like unease from beginning to end and
yeah,
foreboding from beginning to end. Like, you know, shit's not right.
yeah. But I think because it's so heavy thematically, you're not anticipating jokes. You're not anticipating any comedy, dark or otherwise. So when it happens, you're like, shit, is it okay to laugh? I don't know how
Yeah.
to feel right now. And it just adds to that, to the what the fuckness.
It's that exact feeling of like when somebody close to you dies, and the normal thing is to like go and sit with your family or your friends, say, and like somebody will crack a joke or like you'll find something funny
Mhm.
and you'll feel so guilty
Yeah.
about
Is it okay
being
to laugh?
all right for that split second.
Mm.
Yeah, and again, it's a commentary. It makes you question yourself as a person, makes you question your own morals,
And
which is really interesting.
but I think that's an awkward point. Awkward point. I think that's an interesting point that you've just made.
Oh, it's a very awkward point.
But I think it's an interesting point. Like, the film is literally about grief and bereavement and moving on, and people cope with laughter and comedy. So actually,
Yeah.
in that respect, it fits as well.
It's completely fitting. Yeah, it's a whole film about like new beginnings, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that after she has that nightmare and she leaves, she runs past the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a shot of the front of the pyramid, which is obviously bright yellow.
Mm-hmm.
The back of it's red.
Oh, is it? I don't know if I clocked that.
It's like a deep kind of woody red. It's stained red.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's like because it's a house where people are going to die. I'm always saying it as a very obvious color cue of blood, bad things happening,
Yeah.
sacrifice,
And also the duality of everything in the film.
The only red that you see in the film, apart from blood, is that building. I think there are no red flowers. I don't. There might be some red flowers on her dress at the end, but it's predominantly pinks, purples, blues, yellows. But yeah, the only actual sort of proper red that you see is in blood. Also on the redhead's red lips, wearing a red dress at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Fucking bitch. Mark starts pissing on ancestral trees.
Oh, fucking Mark.
Is that not what like Western culture has done? Has that not like what the white man has just gone and done to like various cultures throughout the ages? Just gone and
pissed
on their ancestral tree.
It's mine now.
And then when people have been like, that's my dead family, they're like, it's a fucking tree, I pissed on it, and what? No, you deserve to die. I wrote a note. I wrote a note that said, that fucking guy, I hope he dies first.
And
he didn't. Spoilers.
Can we talk about the deaths that are revealed at the end? Because you don't see them happen, but you see the aftermath of some of them.
What, Simon and Connie?
Yeah. So
Simon
you get
and
the
Connie
impression
are the
she
two
was
Brits.
drowned, right?
What, darling? Yes, and I think that the reason she is drowned is because of the 4 incomers that die. There's one for there's one for every element.
Yeah.
So Simon is suspended with birds and has his lungs removed whilst he is still alive.
That was a
like
really
wings.
well-known Viking method of torture. It's called a blood eagle.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So that'd be air then.
Yeah.
Connie is presumably drowned. The only time you see Connie is when she is a dead body having been dragged from a lake covered
Mhm.
in leaves and stuff. Josh is buried with just his foot sticking up out the ground,
Yeah.
which seems really lazy, to be honest. Like, I kind of feel like they half-assed that. Unless they wanted to remember where he was. They were worried they were going to lose him, so they just left a leg sticking up.
Just leave a toe poking out or something.
Right?
A whole
Or
leg.
put a flag. Just put a flag in it. It's not so conspicuous, is it?
Yeah, one of those little tags that you put next to seedlings so you know what the plants are. This one's a person.
And Milwark, whatever his name is, he is fire, and I'm not entirely sure how. Because he gets burnt at the end, but don't they all?
Yeah.
He is stuffed with flammable material, though.
So he's kindling.
Kinda. He's stuffed with hay.
That works. I'm happy with that.
I mean, somebody did take him off, have sex with him, presumably, and then just remove all his skin.
I hope not.
He was naked from the waist down.
I know, but he was so detestable. I really hope he didn't get to have his end away before he met his untimely demise.
I think that he didn't. I think he
thought he was going
lured
to
into getting a bit uber naked from the waist down, but still wearing a jumper.
Extra naked.
Maximum over naked.
Why is that so weird?
The worst kind of naked. And then, yeah, I think he was, flayed.
I'm much happier.
Possibly alive.
Yeah, I'm much happier with the scenario where he thinks he's going to end up having sex but remains unsatisfied and then dies.
I think that's what we should go with.
Yeah, cool.
Right at the end of the film, the girl who leads him off to have sex with him.
Yeah.
As they are inflaming the pyramid, she's crying. She's really upset, and she runs past the door of it. So that made me question, did she actually really like him? Did she really?
Well,
was she acting against her will, or was she doing it for the greater good, or was it not her who killed him?
That's a lot of questions.
Was it the guy?
You are still asking questions.
I am still asking questions. Was it the guy who got really cross that he'd pissed on the dead tree?
Any of those could be accurate. I think my reading of the situation is just when the building is on fire, everybody is outside wailing, again, mirroring the emotions of the people being burned alive. So I sort of saw it as that. They have this kind of
before. Her crying is before.
No, I know, but they have this kind of very emotional shared empathy. So I just kind of saw it as an extension of that. Not that she was necessarily upset that something bad had happened to him, just that there's this kind of overarching kind of hyper emotional state between them all.
I just thought it was a really weird choice, if that was the case, to have her specifically running past the door upset in the opposite direction to everyone else. There is a reason that she is going the opposite way and that she is so upset.
You could well be right. I didn't give it as much thought, but yeah.
But yeah, I wondered if actually it was her that was doing the killing, and when they killed Josh, there are 3 people in that room along with Josh. There's the Oracle, who sleeps in that building with all of the tomes. There's Josh. There's whoever is wearing Mark's skin, who the only distinctive feature is that he has blue eyes.
Yeah.
They've all got fucking blue eyes. So
doesn't narrow it down.
Well, absolutely. So is it commentary on it's all of them, and actually all of those white skinned, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people are killing the black man.
Probably, yeah. I mean,
And
there are
and
so
then the
many
third
points.
person is the guy who like staves his head in with a mallet.
Mm-hmm. But I think there are so many points at which they're not autonomous. They are a collective, and they act as one.
They are legion. Like you said, that shared empathy.
Mm.
They all eat together. They all sleep together.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any couplings or houses.
No.
They are in one big house until they are a certain age, and then they go to the next period of their life, and they go to the farmhouse, and then.
Mm-hmm. And you don't see, like, none of them have a discernible personality.
No.
They're all just very chipper all the time. Apart from the guy, apart from the angry guy when Mark pissed on the tree.
To be fair, if there's one thing that's going to piss someone off, it's like somebody weeing on your ancestors.
Errant urination.
And he's like pissing in broad daylight with loads of people around.
Presumably there is a bathroom somewhere that he could be doing that in.
Where does everyone else wee? Go and wee there. Nobody else wees on dead people. Fuck's sake.
So I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Overall. One that I couldn't necessarily find the answers to within the film or in any reading that I did after the fact. And that is that obviously there was like the number 9 appears a lot. Obviously 1836 is multiples of 9, 90 years, 9, what's the word? 9 people sacrifices.
You just keep saying 9.
9
what's the word? It's the word 9, Sarah. It's the word 9.
My question
is... And you want to know what the significance is?
Not necessarily, no. My question is, when Pele invited them to the festival, my understanding is that he intended for them to be sacrifices. Was Danny included in that? Because he seemed to kind of take a shine to her very early on. He drew her. He seemed to like her. Was she always destined to become May Queen? Was it somehow rigged in her favour? Did he see early on that she was one of them? Or was it all organic?
He knew she was going to be May Queen. Or he
did.
Or he knew that she was like his May Queen kind of thing.
Right.
Because when it's her birthday, the first day that they're there, he gives her a drawing that he's done of her. And she's wearing the May Queen headdress.
But this is it. This is what I mean. Like, I don't know how much of it was predetermined. Like, did he know from the word go?
He's always saying, he says throughout how excited he is for her more than anyone to come to Sweden and experience this festival. When they arrive at the actual site, one of the elders greets them and says hello to everyone, and then to Danny he's like, "Oh, welcome home." And he like talks to her, and everyone else is just kind of there to witness it.
This is what I mean, like the dancing. How did they know that she would win, that she wouldn't get fatigued like the rest of them? Or do you think it's just part of the whole occult thing? Like it was just predestined?
I would go more along those lines. I think it's more of more of an occult sort of runic magic.
It was just supposed to happen that way.
Yeah, she was meant to be the May Queen.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with.
I also think it's really interesting, like visually, how they portrayed her as well. Like throughout the film, she's kind of pictured in really baggy clothing. Really slouchy, unflattering clothing, and the first thing she's wearing throughout the whole film that appears to fit her are clothes that they've given her.
Like she's finally... Yeah.
I thought that was a nice touch.
Finally found her people. And like Pele asking basically are saying, like, is Mark your people? Like, do you feel held by him? And when she sees him fucking somebody else,
Yeah.
those women all hold her and carry her to the bedside.
I love that scene. That's one of my favourite scenes in it, and they're just literally screaming with her.
I said those are the
Validating
kind
her.
of girlfriends we all need.
Right?
I wrote a note just like, I want girlfriends like that.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I remember, she'll fucking hate me for saying this, but like, Abby split up with one of her boyfriends under quite acrimonious circumstances, and she saw him with another girl, and like, I could just see that she was losing her mind, and she was like, I've got to get out, I've got to get out, I've got to get out. And I dragged her to one of the big fields up near where the old BT tower used to be, and just like left her there, just let her scream as loud as she wanted for as long as she wanted. I was like, you need this kind of release. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But
so yeah, like we need more shit like that.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments in the film, where they're just like, she doesn't feel like she has to hold it in for fear of looking crazy or being judged.
Yeah.
She's able to feel her feelings, and not only that, but be validated and accepted and be like, oh, it's okay to experience this.
Accepted. Yeah, she is accepted. For her potential, because she's medicated as well, but you don't see her taking her medication at any point while she's there. The only medication she takes are sleeping tablets.
Yeah.
One note I have written, going back to Simon, where he's like strung up with his lungs out. I have written "suns out, lungs out," and I'd completely forgotten that. Right?
That needs to go in the merch store.
Suns out, lungs out. Oh my god. And that's why I'm not allowed to watch serious film.
So, I think now is probably a good time to kind of wrap up and
I could legitimately talk about this for another couple of hours, but
same.
like,
but
we do not have time.
Should not. So how would you kind of consolidate the way you feel about this film? How did you expect to feel about it, firstly?
I thought I would feel a lot more gutturally empty after having watched it.
Okay.
Because everybody that I spoke to basically said, it's really fucked up. It will affect you.
It's hard going.
Yeah, well, this is it. Everyone said, like, it's hard going, it'll affect you, you'll come out of it, like, and you won't know what the fuck's just happened. And like, that's absolutely right, but I'm used to that meaning that, like, I will be terribly sad afterwards. Whereas actually this film, like I said right at the beginning of the podcast, like, I got to the end of it and I was like, fuck yeah,
it's almost cathartic.
Absolutely. Burn the bear. Fuck the bear. He's an asshole. I thought it was utterly brilliant. And I know that I say a lot of films are very good and that I really enjoyed them, but I both enjoyed and was deeply affected by this film.
Okay.
And Ari Aster is a fucking genius.
I think the internet does seem to be split over whether he is kind of a self-indulgent, pretentious arsehole or an actual auteur.
The two are not mutually exclusive. You could be a pretentious dickhead and be a genius. It's really annoying when people are both of those things, but it does happen.
Yeah.
But I think he's utterly pretentious. And I think he crowbars in as many Easter eggs and stuff that you don't see unless you go looking for it. And
there were
like
quite a few
meanings.
Moments where there are kind of faces hidden in trees in the background that I did not spot on my first viewing.
No, I can't say I noticed that.
I think it's definitely a film that warrants revisiting a little way down the line. Like, let it sit for a bit and then watch it again, I would say.
I think his like raison d'etre is just shoving as much into a film, so it's like sensory overload.
Mhm.
And I love that kind of shit, to be honest. Like, it's like a smorgasbord of different references and informations, and I love it. And I love what I managed to pick out of it as well on a first watch.
Yeah.
And know that I haven't even necessarily scratched the surface of what might be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, fucking loved it. So glad I watched it. So glad I watched it.
I'm glad you.
So glad you bought it for me on DVD.
Well,
Thank you.
I suspected you would get something out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy to hear that you enjoyed it as much as you did. I think
No, I'm totally stoked on it.
It does baffle me. Like you say, he stuffed so much into the 2.5 hour running time that it baffles me when people say it drags or it's boring. Like it's not a roller coaster ride by any stretch, but
it's not a slow burn either.
No, and it is a slog, but I think everything that is in there needs to be.
It's more like being beaten up for 2.5 hours than it is being bored watching a film.
It's an assault, yeah.
Yeah, because of the visual and auditory like overload, because of all the information that you're trying to take in, and because of the overarching themes of like trauma and grief that are intensely relatable because of the excellent acting. Like, yeah, you come out of it and you're like, fucking hell. that just happened at me for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can totally see why people have been like, that is the best film of 2019. Like, that's their one kind of thing. I can totally understand that.
That was my top of last year, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, like without question.
Love it.
Cool. I'm amazed that we kept that to like 1 hour and 15 minutes, if I'm honest. I think, I think we showed serious restraint there.
Yes.
As always, if you're feeling generous, come and find us on social media and say hello. We would love to hear from you. If you search at Radio Gorepress on all the regular platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you fancy leaving us a review or a rating on your favourite podcast platform, we would absolutely love you forever. And you can always check out radiogorepress.com to find every past show, which will always be free, or links to our Redbubble or Patreon or Ko-fi, where you can support us. And that would be lovely. But
it'd be perfection.
Wouldn't it just?
Chef kiss.
Yes. But until next time, thank you so much for listening.
And stay spooky.